Money Moves with Mem 2.0, the podcast. And always remember, gentlemen, it's another mother movie. So today we're gonna be reacting to yet another video, and in every video there's always financial aspects you can learn. So we're gonna be breaking down some of the things that are going right and what's going wrong financially in these videos. So today, I seen this video saying that this woman's rent has doubled. So I haven't viewed this video yet. So this will be both our first time viewing this video. So without further ado, like, share, and subscribe, and let's get straight into the content.
So my rent has doubled, and I'm scared. I'm very scared. Well, after recording of this video, I will say that my anxiety and my fear around it is starting to kind of go down a little bit. But in the beginning of that transition in reality that this was happening, my anxiety was like through the roof. So how did I get here? What happened? And I also want to hit on how I realized that I was scared and why I was moving the way that.
Hey guys, this is gonna be very interesting. This is the last thing you want to hear somebody talking about that they're scared of their money. You know, um, so this is gonna be very interesting.
I was moving, and it was kind of like an eye opener to me that there's still some things that I have to kind of be mindful of and continue to kind of push through, and realize that when you are uncomfortable, that is usually being uncomfortable is a good thing. Because being in your comfort zone kind of keeps you complacent, and it keeps you stagnant to the point where you don't want to move. And I did not even realize that. If it wasn't for my kids, I really wouldn't have realized that. And so I kind of want to just share this experience, because it was very kind of eye-opening to me. And I'm like, I know I'm not the only one that could be going through this, and it could, show up in various different ways. So how did my rent double? How did I even get here? Let's talk about it. So where I am right now, my current apartment that I'm in right now, I have been living here for 7 years. That is a long time. I did not intend to stay here that long. Honestly, I thought like between like the 3 or 4 year mark, I would move. But it's been 7 years. And so I have, before moving here, I'm actually in the DMV area. I'm from a very.
Guys, nobody wants to be stuck renting out an apartment for 7 years, guys. If the best thing possible is to leverage your credit and leverage your income when you're staying somewhere. So now you can buy a home, or you can live off grid, buy some land, put a small house there. So now you don't have to pay rent every month. Cause you can imagine how much rent is. Rent is easy where I'm at for a 1 bedroom, 1,400 bucks. So just imagine she been staying there for 7 years. Let's imagine 1,400 bucks every month, when and that's over 25,000 a year. It's crazy.
Very small town called Erie, Pennsylvania. Shout out to the 814, right by Lake Erie. I lived there, and during that time there, I experienced extreme, financial stress. I was definitely in poverty. It was very, very hard. There was a season in my life where, I was living from family to family, and with 2 kids, that was very stressful. And so when I finally found my own housing there and was able to stabilize myself, I found that I was still struggling at a point where it didn't make sense, because I had all of this education. Here I am with a master's degree making $8 an hour. And
So first of all, like I be saying in a lot of these videos, when it comes to women telling their side of the story, You know, because everybody knows that it could be a little easier on the household, a lot easier on the household if if there's two adults in the household. That's what most single black women don't understand. That when there's two functioning adults in the same household, and that woman is on that man's game plan, then things run a lot smoother. She ain't said nothing about baby daddy. She just said she got two kids, and she's like Kevin Samuels said, she's a PhD. You know, and we ain't heard nothing about baby daddy. You know, and you wonder why your rent doubled.
That's a true story. And so I began to look outside of my hometown, and I just had this strong desire that, you know what, it's time. I need to leave. I need to go somewhere else.
Hey guys, and another thing about that, about her saying she made $8 an hour, this would be the same chick who looking for a dude making $250,000 a year.
And so maybe in a different video why I picked the DMV area, because that was a very divine, like, unique experience on what even landed me here. But in all of that, 7 years ago, that's what kind of pushed me here and be in this apartment that I am in right now. And so when I moved here, my kids were little. Like, my son was like just entering into preschool, daughter in second grade, and this is a 2-bedroom apartment. And so, you know, I had a room, and then now my kids share a room. They have a bunk bed, and, you know, in the beginning it was fine. From, you know, when they first moved here to now, my little babies are big babies now, and they've been needing their own space for the longest, and I've been wanting to.
To modern black women, to all modern black women who run across this video, we understand that you're having, a lot of you ladies are having financial issues, and stuff like that, you know, and it's hard on you. But we all have, as men, we know, like, we're logical thinking species, you know, us as men. So, you know, obviously, for this lady to be staying here for 7 years, meaning that her plan is not working. She has a 2-bedroom house, one which should be for her and her baby father, the other one for her other two kids. So now, since she decided not to be with this dude for whatever reason, and if we had a reason, if she comes up with it, she's probably gonna say he was abusive or some etc. But it's usually supposed to be the father, the mother, two kids, you know. But now she's in the room by herself making $8 an hour.
Do that, particularly for my daughter. Like, she's the oldest, and, you know, us girls, we go through our different transitions as we're growing and developing, and I really want her to just kind of have her own space. But it has been like, where I'm at is so expensive, and like the type of apartment that I'm living in right now has been, it was almost like a unique gem for me to find the type of apartment that I have, and to be able to you know, have the amount of rent that I'm paying. So there was a level of comfort and security there, and anytime that I would try to like look outside of that, like, the prices just was like, I just couldn't see myself affording that. Like, it just was not realistic for me. So I continued to stay, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe next year. And I'm literally telling my kids this, like, the past 4 years I've been like, okay, next year we're going to move, because in my mind I wanted to move from an apartment to a home. Like, I wanted to buy a house. So me becoming financially independent, learning about my credit score, building my savings, like, all of that was to prepare me for a home, because I didn't want to keep moving from place to place to place. And part of that resistance of not wanting to move from place to place to place, because in my own childhood, like, we moved a lot. Like, it was very rare where we stayed in a house 4, 5, 6 years. I would say it almost felt like every other year, or at least at minimum every other 2 years, we were moving into a different space. And I remember my grandma Mary, God rest her soul, like, her house was the only like consistent home that I had in my life. Like, my grandma owned her home, you know, raised her kids there, grandkids there, and even great grandkids. So that was always like a secure place for me. And
Okay, guys, notice what this lady's saying. She's saying her grandmother. So, obviously, she comes from a line. A lot of modern women in America, they come from a line of a lot of single mothers. So they got this single mother mentality. You know, a lot of us fellas will be able to get ahead way much faster than this lady did or is doing, because we're logical. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's on point with getting your credit together and etc. But she's probably thinking about mortgaging out a property, which is going to make her a slave for the next 30 years, where she's going to have to work on up until she's old, you know, unless she got a business that she can pay the mortgage or etc with, you know. So, like, we talk about this on the channel a lot. And guys, if you guys want this content creator's channel, her channel will be in the description below. So let's keep it moving.
I realized like that was important for me. I wanted somewhere where I can kind of place my roots, because in my childhood, like, we moved literally a little too much. And so I know that played a factor into it as well. And so here I am at the point come this year where I had looked for a 3-bedroom apartment in the apartment complex that I'm in right now. Like, me and my daughter, we went over, we got the tour of the place, I started the paperwork, and then they shut my application down and said that I didn't qualify for the apartment because I was over income. Like, the apartment place that I'm living right now, it is income based, and so when I came in, my income was really low, so I wasn't over the threshold. So it's like a starting income where you can qualify, and then there's like a max. And so I'm pretty much at the max now, but basically me moving into a new apartment, it restarts my like application process, and I'm too high for the entry point, if I'm making sense. And so that was like a punch at the gut, because I had already started the paperwork. Me and my daughter had went to go look at the
Guys, you see the logic of single baby mothers. Look at her eyes, the way I just stopped it. Like, she got on these glasses trying to be sophisticated, but you can look at her and tell that she's nuts. Acorns, homeboy. You know. And the thing about it is she keep talking about, me and my daughter went to go see this, me and my daughter went to go see this, me and my daughter. Where's the baby daddy? Because the simple fact is, I don't know no man, no real man who wants to sign himself up for this woman. Not no dude who got something going on. She talking about, oh, she been staying here for 7 years. You know, she got 2 kids and her daughter, her daughter. She ain't say nothing about her son. No, she got one. You know, cause she's, you know, do you got something against men or what? It's crazy.
apartment. She even got to see. I'm like, oh, this will be perfect. This will be your room. And like, to have to turn around and then tell them like, no, actually we won't be moving, was like really, really hurtful. And I want to say that was like, it wasn't this year. It was like August of 2023, because my lease, I usually have to let them know by September whether or not I'm going to renew my lease or not. So that was around 2023 that had happened. So then we go into 2024, and then a lot of stuff happened that, I'm sorry, I can't talk on camera because it's like personal to like my relationship, love life, where our family just like crumble. And that was around a time where I end up getting a new job, the job that I have now, and I was able to boost my income. And then in my mind, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna grind it out one more year. I practically lost half of the income that my ex-partner was bringing in, so it became back to just me. But I'm like, next year I'm gonna move into,
Okay, so she just said something about her ex partner. She didn't say nothing about the children's father. You know, I don't know if she got the same baby dad for one, or does she got 2 different baby dads. But I'm telling you, the dude who signed himself up for this situation is a low life bum. The dude who, let me say this again, and I hope he see this video. The dude who signed himself up for this deal, this woman right here, is a low life bum. And that's just how I feel about it. What man is gonna sign himself up for this? You know, and I bet you she's the breadwinner as well, which is a horrible place for a man to be. Is below the bread threshold in a woman and her daughter. That's all she gonna talk about. My daughter. Nobody. That's not my child, woman. That's not my baby. Sorry to bust your bubble with your 1940s librarian glasses.
to move into a house. And when I say the way my daughter and my kids looked at me like, Mom, like you say this every year. You say every year we're gonna move. And like they're like, can you just like they wasn't having it. So I'm like, that
Your children are only babies. You hear this woman? She's talking like her children really have leverage in what she's gonna do. You know what I'm saying? This is the reason why a lot of household and a lot of modern black women, they're moving their kids in the wrong direction. Wrong direction, leading them to an independent single lifestyle, and they are raising softer and softer men.
really was like a punch in the gut. I'm like, you know what? Let me just go and look. And so that's what I did. Like I remember riding around when I was picking them up for school, I was being more mindful and paying attention to for rent signs. And there was a for rent sign that I seen, and I called the number, set up a tour to go and look at. It was actually a house to go look at it. And when I went to go tour it, and she told me the rate, I'm like, I cannot. It was like triple my rent. So then me, there's even though I am a private person, I do just find like comfortability in sharing my story. So as I was talking to the representative or the agent there, I was just telling her my situation. Like, I'm in this apartment. I've been here for 7 years. We've outgrown this space. Like, I just want to give my kids their own room. This is like kind of where I am, like financially. And she was just like, well, I can take you on as a client and help you find a place. And I'm like, oh, for real? And she's like, yeah, very sweet lady, and her name is Nicole. And I'm like, oh, we got the same name. My middle name is Nicole. So she's really, really cute, really nice. And so she was willing to help me, and she kind of explained to me like what the process was look like with the fees and stuff. And so basically she would get a fee on the back end from whoever the landlord was or whatever housing that she would find me, as long as they accepted, and then she would let me know up front if they didn't accept the fee, and then I would have to cover the fee. But she wanted to stay away from that, so she wouldn't look for places where basically on the back end she would kind of get her cut. So I'm like, okay, great. And I hope I'm explaining that right. I may be explaining it wrong. For those of you who are agents out there, realtor agents or whatever, let me know. And then she's also like, well, I'll get into that a little bit later. So yeah, so then I gave her my price range, and she set me up on some little realtor thing that she used, and I began to get like notifications of places that were within my budget. So what is my budget? For context, my current rent now is $15.93, and I gave her a range between 23 to 28 at the max. And when I crunched my numbers, I knew.
Guys, who would want to be paying 2,800 smackaroos for rent? Guys, they have homes in places like Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and all these places in black communities that's abandoned, that you can literally buy 3, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms that need a little attention and love that you can get for a couple $1,000 just by paying the taxes. But a lot, you can't tell modern women that. You can't tell them that. You know, they're gonna go and they're gonna spend all the money they should be saving. She should be paying like 1,000 on taxes a year and back in the rest of that money for her retirement when she gets older. But 9 times out of 10, this lady's gonna be working for the rest of her life. Take notice.
Knew it was something that I could afford, but I knew it was going to put me back into that space where money was going to be tight. And so, but I'm like looking, I could just see my kid's face in my head, just like the sadness in their eyes. Like, you keep saying next year for the past 4, 5 years. Like, no, ma'am, get to work. So those were the numbers that I gave her. And depending on where you at, you may be looking at me with like 3 heads, like, girl, like what? But the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia area is very expensive, and I'm particularly in the Northern Virginia area. So think like Falls Church, Alexandria, Arlington. What else is over here? Think that area. Okay, so if you from over here, if you know, you know. So it's expensive out here, and I'm here particularly for the public schools because it is just great public schools. But anyways, I digress. So those were the numbers that I gave her. And there were a couple of spots that I had toured. And then I was also apprehensive with applying to multiple apartments because they run your credit. And every time they run your credit, that is a hard inquiry on your credit report, meaning that will be on your credit for the next 2 years. Anytime there's a hard inquiry, that does impact your credit and drop your points down. So that's why you don't want to have like multiple hard inquiries, whether you're applying for a home or a car, or looking for an apartment. Like, you're putting all these applications in, and every time they're pulling your credit, there is taking a ding.
You see, she don't know nothing about leveraging her money, and she's already talking about applying for homes and stuff using her credit. Guys, we're not into buying houses the traditional way. We're into getting properties the non-traditional way. We don't need a bank. Only thing we need is the title company. That's it.
At your credit, and I worked very, very hard to update my credit, to understand how credit score work, and I let her know that, because the end goal is still to buy a house. And so I knew if I was going to apply for a new place, that I wanted the likelihood of me getting it to be like very, very high. So there was one place that I went to go see, and it was like very close to their school, really nice. A little outdated, but it was more space. Like, I was not about to be picky. I'm like, just as long as they got 3 rooms, we good. Like, and the lights work, the doors closed and locked. Like, I'm not about to get all up in arms about the paint in the bathroom and the appliances. Like,
you should be. You see, this is what modern women. That's why guys need to not let modern women lead them. She don't care about none of that. But if you're paying $1,500 to $2,800 a month, which is about how much a 2-3 bedroom apartment would normally go for, then you're gonna want that apartment to be kind of luxury, like the apartment I'm in now. It's a luxury apartment.
we're not about to do that. So this apartment was nice. It was okay. It was spacious. And then there was the second place I went to go see. And you know how you walk into some and then you just like, yeah, this is for me. Like, I really want this place. And that's how I felt when I walked into this house. But it looked like it was not going to happen. And she let me know. She was just like, she said, this house that you see, she was like, even for the price range, she was just like, for the open house, she's like, I want you to get there early. She was like, she's like, I can tell like this is probably going to be high competition. And she was like, I can even see people offering to pay more, a little bit more to, basically secure the home. One, this place has a backyard. I haven't had a backyard in so long. They had a full backyard, basement, 2.5 bathrooms, 3 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms, living room, dining room, and all that. And it's 3 levels, so it's like the upstairs, and then like when you first walk in, the main floor, and then downstairs is the basement, which is, there's also a room down there, and then there's also a washer and dryer, which is big for me because like I live in an apartment building. Anybody who lives in an apartment complex, if you know, you know. Well, my particular apartment complex is like there are certain units that have washer and dryers in them, and there's certain units that don't. And like when I came in, your girl was little poverty Tashana coming in. So the unit that I have did not have all of the amenities. I do have a dishwasher though, but there's a shared laundry room that I can use and I had access to. But I would go to a different laundromat kind of out in the community that was the washer and dryers just work better. So I have been using public washer and dryers for the past 7 years. So when I saw I was like, I would have my own washer and dryer. It's the little things. I was like, this is so nice. And so when I had left the open house, I remember it was me and another lady that had came and viewed it and asked like a couple of.
You see, me and my wife pay way less than her in rent, and we got a washer and dryer. All right, modern women.
Questions, and I had called her, and I called my agent, and she was just like, I told her, I was like, I am interested. I do want to put an application into this house. And she was like, well, let's wait until after the open house is over. It was from like 10 to noon. She was like, I'll call the landlord and see, basically kind of get a gauge of what the competition is like, and how many applications that, he received. So I'm like, okay. So I went to the open house, noon came, I'm waiting for my agent to kind of call me back. And she called me back. When she called me back, she was like, Tashana, she was like, actually, there are no applications in right now. She was like, so if you want to apply, you can. And the lease right now is for a year, but she said usually what she likes to do to kind of make the tenant look a little bit more marketable, she was like, instead of doing 12 months, let's offer 18 months, so they're more likely to accept your application. I'm like, okay, cool. So I put in the application, submitted it, and then the landlord approved my application. It was just like, yeah, she can move in October. I'm like, slow down. Like, it went so fast. And the reason why October didn't work is because my lease is up in December, and I need my security deposit back. And so I was like, I can't do October, but I can move like November 15th is like the earliest that I can move into. And I'm like, just to be realistic, because honestly, at the end of November, I would basically have to be out of here because my lease is up in December. And the crazy thing of like how fast this had happened, like I went to go tour that other house. I met Nicole, who is now my agent, and like this happened within days. And so by the 30th of September, I had to let my current apartment know whether or not I was going to renew my lease, because I think you have to give them like a 60-day notice before your lease is up, and I think they may ding you or like cut from your security deposit if you don't. And so I remember it happened before, like literally like 2 days before that like notice period. So I was just like, are they willing to allow me to like to move in? Like, I was like, I can do November 15th at the earliest. And so she went back to the landlord and proposed that, and he was just like, well, is she willing to do 2 years? And I'm like, because when I spoke to my agent, remember, my initial goal, like, I want to buy a house. Like, I want home ownership. This is something I've been, like, dreaming of ever since I became a parent, honestly. And so with her, she proposed to me, like, why don't you find out, because realistically in the time frame of me trying to get out and buy a home before my lease was up was not realistic. She was like, why don't we just find, a bigger space for you or your kids now? You can stay there for the year, and we can kind of prep within that year to get you ready to buy a home. And she let me know like all the little tricks and stuff. Nicole is bad. She's bad. If you're in DMV area, I'm gonna drop her information because she's good. And so that was our original.
The type of woman who looks for a house and not even ready to move into the house. If anything, she should have secured that home and still paid the 3 or 4 months down the road for the other apartment, got her security deposit or whatever. Or she could have just broke the lease because she's been working for 7 years saving money. Like, who cares about the little security deposit? What, the $1,000 security deposit, but you want to get the 3-bedroom? I couldn't deal with this. I could not deal with this lady. And I'm pretty sure what happened was she didn't renew her lease. And so now she got to reapply for the same apartment that she lives in. But now the rent has doubled. Thinking that's what's going on.
The plan for me to live there for a year and then prepare for home ownership within that year. And so she was just like, well, and being that we extended 18 months, like another 6 months, it's just like, okay, really, what's like, what's the big deal? So I was like, okay, I'm willing to do 2 years. So approved my application, security and first month's rent was due in this apartment. So I'm going from $1,593 to $2,800 a month, and that is like, it's like a shock, and it was it was a hit, and it was something that I've been running from for a long time because I was scared about, like, all my mind kept thinking about is how I lived before I moved to the DMV. And I'm going to try to not get emotional, but how I lived before I came to the DMV, I don't want to be back in that space. Yeah, I'm gonna pause. Okay, I'm back and a little red-eyed. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get through this. I gotta wrap this up quickly because I'm not trying to be like the emotional.
This is all we got for the video today. If you guys want to finish this video with this lady, her link is in the description below. But without further ado, I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. And always remember, fellas, it's another motherfucking movie. Over and out.